or whatnot, that's fine. Doesn't matter. But let's go ahead and review this, ladies and gentlemen. Apparently, there's a wave of Ukrainians and Russians at the U.S.-Mexico border, putting pressure on Biden's immigration restrictions. Now, obviously, he's going to be ready to take in many Ukrainian refugees. You're going to have the left complaining about how easy it is for us to take in Ukrainian refugees because they're white and we're not willing to take in refugees from other countries. But obviously, that's highly incorrect because all we do is take in people of color from other countries. I mean, everybody comes through the Mexico border. All right. The least of those are white, but a lot of them are, but not necessarily white Eastern European people. They're white Hispanics that come from other places. A lot of people go through the Mexico border from Cuba. They go there from Venezuela. They go there from other parts of Central America and South America. And they come from other parts of Europe, obviously, folks. They fly from Europe. They do come from Europe, and they go to the Mexico border as well. It's not limited to anybody. You have Asians. You have people coming from the Middle East. So a Ukrainian woman, Sofia, and her 3 children were finally allowed to cross the United States-Mexico border near Tijuana on Monday morning, March 11th. It was their 3rd attempt to seek asylum in the U.S. The border agents that had denied Sofia and her children had cited Title 42, an obscure and controversial public health rule that allows U.S. officials to circumvent the normal trappings of immigration procedure, including asylum interviews. Lawyers with the Center for Gender and Refugee Studies. Why can't it just be refugee? Whatever. I'll look into that a little bit later. But lawyers with the Center of Gender and Refugee Studies at UC Hastings eventually helped clear the way. Of course they did. Gender bullshit. Migrant advocates said Sofia and her family's struggle has directed a spotlight on the Biden administration's embrace of Title 42, which has been the subject of an ongoing lawsuit against the U.S. at a time when a growing number of Ukrainians and Russians are attempting to request asylum. According to a time analysis of Customs Border Patrol data, the number of encounters between U.S. border agents and Ukrainians and Russians at the U.S.-Mexico border increased 753% between fiscal year 2020 and 2021. In fiscal year 22, so far, the number of Ukrainians and Russians encountered at the border has already surpassed the previous 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, surpassed. And we're just talking about fucking Ukrainians and Russians. We're not talking about everybody else, folks. Let's take a look at that. Has already surpassed the previous 2 years, with the most significant upticking happening in the last 6 months as Russia's threats against Ukraine increased. Customs Border Patrol has not yet provided data for February on early March, making it difficult to more precisely track the influence of Russian invasion. A surge of Russians and Ukrainians at U.S. borders. Okay, obviously. Okay, a little repeat. Let's go ahead and see what's going on here. I'm gonna read the rest of this, and then we'll go on to some other news. It has been a grueling 2 weeks for Sofia and her family around February 27th. Okay, so it's just going to be about Sofia and her family. Sorry, folks. I'm not trying to act like I don't give a fuck about Sofia and her 3 children, but we obviously know where this is going. So there's a huge influx of Ukrainians and Russians coming across the border. That's no surprise because of everything that's going on there. The U.S. disrupting shit over there and want to make it sound like it's all fucking Vladimir Putin when it's not, obviously just fucking Vladimir Putin. There's more going on there than meets the eye that we're not getting the straight story from when it comes to the mainstream media. Let's go to Drudge real quick, folks. So you know how we do it. We kind of do a rapid fire headline coverage, and then I'm going to start to take your phone calls. You can talk about anything that we're talking about or anything that you want to, period. I'll put the number up in just a moment. Zelensky visits injured troops in hospital, gives out medals. Okay, so like we're supposed to, I'm like, yeah. It's just pushing more war propaganda. Sets virtual address to Congress. That's going to be Wednesday, folks. I'm going to have Wednesday off, and I'm going to be streaming that address, Zelensky's address to Congress. So I'll post some information in regards to that, but that's going to take place Wednesday. Once I find out the time, which it's supposed to be in the morning, I'll share something on the community chat, or I'll share something on the community tab in my page. Bipartisan calls ramp up on Biden to give Ukraine jets and weapons, blah, blah, blah. American View. Let's check out the red. So the United Nations warns nuclear war within realm of possibility. Okay, so this is just fucking more propaganda. This is coming from mediate.com. This is a fucking liberal leftist nonsense fucking George Soros sponsored outlet. They're just pushing propaganda as much as anybody else. All right, let's take a look here. So UN Security General Antonio Guterres warned that a possibility of nuclear conflict exists in the midst of blah, 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 blah. Possibility. That's just bullshit propaganda. Okay. Obviously it exists, but I don't think it's going to get to that point, ladies and gentlemen. Fox's Hall injured, hospitalized near Kyiv. Oh, really? Hospitalized? Are you kidding me? John Benjamin Hall got injured. Okay. Shit, Benjamin Hall got injured. Fox News reporter Benjamin Hall was wounded outside of Kyiv in Ukraine on Monday, the network said. Fox News Anchor John Roberts read in a statement on air from network CEO Suzanne Scott, revealing that Hall had been wounded in Ukraine and remained hospitalized. Yo, serious, folks. It's just getting real. Him right here, he's been on the news all the time. He got injured. I wouldn't be, why are they sending this motherfucker there, bro? He's been reporting on this shit. I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all. That's what Brett Baer was mentioning. Come on, guys, let's go put some illegal bioweapon labs in Mexico. Let's go ahead and do it, man. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be safe. I'm pretty sure it'll be safe, folks. Okay, let's take a look here. All right, I'm gonna have to take a dab in a second, folks. I don't know about you. Let me know what you're smoking on too. If you are blazing on something, let me know what you're blazing on in the chat. Please drop it, whatever it is, concentrate, flower, whatever it is you're smoking on, please let me know. Now, China open to helping Putin. Now, let's get into this. It's CNN, okay. China has expressed some openness to providing military and financial aid to Russia, U.S. cable suggests. So listen to that. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to take from that? U.S. cable suggests. So basically, una mierda. The U.S. has information suggesting China has expressed some openness to providing. Okay, not going to continue to read that. Let's just take that for what it is. If you want to continue to read that, you can. But obviously, Russia and China are going to have some sort of partnership, and I'm sure that they can work something out. I'm sure China would be willing to give them weapons. China already said that if the U.S. tries to meter el pie, which means putting your foot in the way of them invading Taiwan, there's going to be a problem. All right, and China's not talking shit. Beijing emerging as winner of war. Okay, so let's see what they're citing here. All right, China sees at least one winner emerging from Ukraine war. China. All right, so the war in Ukraine is far from over, but consensus is forming in Chinese policy circles that one country stands to emerge victorious from the turmoil, China. After a confused initial response to Russia's invasion, China has laid the building blocks of a strategy to shield itself from worst economic and diplomatic consequences it could face and to benefit from geopolitical shifts once the smoke clears. China leader Xi Jinping has avoided criticizing President Vladimir Putin of Russia, but he has also tried to distance China from the carnage. His government has denounced the international sanctions imposed on Russia, but so far at least has hinted that Chinese companies may comply with them. To protect China's economic interest in the West, obviously. But we already know where that's going to go. So this is not breaking information. Germany raises alarm as COVID infection surged to record levels. Let's check this bullshit out, and then we're going to check out that asshole Pete Davidson. I'd kill that motherfucker. COVID digest. So Germany situation critical. Lauterberg says, yeah, so apparently they want to impose another lockdown. The German health minister has called on the federal states to reevaluate the coronavirus rules before restrictions are lifted. In other news, a Chinese city locks down as COVID cases rise. There's a new form of Omicron. German health minister Karl Lauterbach said that the impact of COVID-19 in the country had reached a, quote, critical level after the number of infections rose to a high this week. Quote, we are in a situation that I would like to describe as critical, end quote, Lauterbach said at the weekly coronavirus press briefing in Berlin on Friday. Quote, we have strongly rising case figures again. I keep reading that the Omicron variant is a milder variant, but that's only true to a limited extent, end quote. So yeah, that's apparently called the Omicron B2A or something like that. I think it's called B2A, ladies and gentlemen. There's a brand new one out there. Don't quote me on that. I think it's B2A, Omicron variant. Anyway, they're talking about imposing lockdowns in all of Europe. Think about everything that's happening with Russia and Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is not going to give a fuck about no damn lockdown. So if these countries are going to lock down, they're not going to engage in any military involvement, or they are going to engage in military involvement, lock motherfuckers down, institute martial law, and use COVID as a reason for having to lock people down. Now it's starting to make a little bit of sense, right, folks? This is Pete Davidson. A lot of you are probably not following the drama, but Pete Davidson is a bitch-ass nigga who's now with Kim Kardashian. And not that Kanye West is completely sane or fine or whatever, but it's kind of fucked up what's happening here. And I wish that they would just actually meet up. Kanye's telling Pete Davidson to go to Sunday service, and then Pete Davidson is saying, no, I'll get a room. We could talk together like men in a room, blah, blah, blah. I'm not scared of you, blah, 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 blah. This is ridiculous. Kanye should have known better before getting with a woman like Kim Kardashian. All right. Hey, she's attractive, but not worth the fucking time. I'm sorry. That's not, it just isn't, it isn't worth the drama. And somebody like Pete Davidson, it's just like, I can understand having children with somebody and then a person like Pete Davidson being around them and then you formulating your opinions. I'm sure he's probably straight, but like at the same time, he's a pervert. He's sick. In my opinion, he's on SNL. He's a part of this fucking craziness. I know what the motherfucker has done. The motherfucker lives a crazy life, and I wouldn't want my children around them either because I would think that he's reckless. That's my opinion would be the same as Kanye's. I would think that he's reckless, and I wouldn't want my children around that. Not at all. All right, let's take a look here, folks. All right, let me close this out. It is now 9:23. Let's go ahead and take a look at a couple of other stories, folks. So again, that was the Pete Davidson Kanye West bullshit. Just some little drama with Kim Kardashian. Musk challenges Putin to a fight with Ukraine as prize. Get the fuck out of here. Elon Musk challenges Putin to a fight with Ukraine as a prize. I'm going to have to read this. Elon Musk, and this is coming from MSN News. Elon Musk, the world's richest man, on Monday challenged Russian Vladimir Putin to a fight with nothing less than the fate of the Ukraine, scene of Moscow's brutal invasion at stake. The eccentric billionaire and founder of aerospace company SpaceX took to Twitter, where his messages are notoriously erratic, to see whether the Russian leader would test his mettle in person rather than through his country's forces. Quote, I hereby challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat. Stakes are Ukraine, end quote, said Musk. Bro, Vladimir Putin will whip your fucking ass, dog. I don't know what he's been learning, what Elon Musk has been learning, or what he might know that he's not exposing to the world, but bro, whatever. Vladimir Putin's a KGB agent, bro. I'm not fucking. I think Vladimir Putin has got it. But anyway, I hereby challenge Vladimir Putin to single combat. Stakes are Ukraine, said Musk. Do you accept the fight? He added in Russian, directly addressing the official English language Twitter account of the 69-year-old president. When one of Musk's 77 million followers wrote that the Tesla founder might not have thought his challenge through, Musk says he was, quote, absolutely serious, end quote. Quote, if Putin could so easily humiliate the West, then he would accept the challenge, but he will not, end quote, he added. There was no immediate reaction from the Kremlin, but Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov posted a mocking response on Telegram saying, quote, Elon Musk, I wouldn't advise you to test your strength against Putin, end quote. Quote, your weight categories are too different, end quote, said Kadyrov. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. Putin would obviously whoop his ass, folks. Come on. Let's give me a fucking break, right? Give me a fucking break. He's obviously going to whoop his ass. All right. Now I see that there are several more people in the room. Most of you are watching from Crippy Rob, the political pothead. If you're watching on 420 Politics or 420 Politics and more, please go ahead and come to the channel. Come to the main channel, Crippy Rob, the political pothead. All right. I'm not sharing those links on any of the streams right now, but just look up Crippy Rob, the political pothead, and you should be able to find the channel. China says it captured NSA spy tool. Let's take a look here. China's going to capture a lot of things. Everything that we left, all the weapons and everything that we left in Afghanistan, do you think China is not going to get access to any of that? Come on, folks. Like, give me a fucking break. China claims it captured U.S. NSA spy tool dubbed Trojan horse that control the global internet equipment and steal info. I wouldn't be surprised with as reckless as the Biden administration is, but whatever. Let's take a look here. Economy flashes raising warning sign. New wave of inflation disrupts hits factory floors. Is dollar in danger? Dollar's been in danger. Wheat futures, hottest stock on Wall Street. Okay. Chevron set to trade Venezuelan oil. Okay. Let's read this. So exclusive Chevron set to trade Venezuelan oil if U.S. relaxes sanctions. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. So Chevron's going to be the one. Chevron's going to be the motherfuckers. Chevron Corporation is preparing to take operating control of its joint ventures in Venezuela if Washington relaxes sanctions on Caracas to boost crude supplies after banning Russia oil imports, according to the three people familiar with the situation. So insanity, folks. Let's go ahead and start taking your phone calls, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to share the number right here, and you can call about anything that you want to discuss, anything that you want to talk about. You can call in about. All right, we mentioned a few things, but you can call in about anything. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw in some music. Don't know why I just removed it. Let's take a look here. I'm going to fucking gay song. It's not a gay song. I like the song. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to put it on. Give me 1 second. I'm just bringing it up. I put it on the other day, but I wasn't even by here. All right. Give me a quick second. Let's go ahead and share that. Yes. It's going to be what it is. I really don't give a fuck. Just in the mood to listen to the song right now while we wait for the first call. All right. Let me set some things up for the phone number, folks, and we'll be good to go.
Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Fine light in the beautiful sea. I chose to be happy. You and I, we're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see, a vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive.
I'm like diamonds in the sky.
I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. At first sight, I felt the energy of sun rays. I saw the life inside you. Tonight, you and I were beautiful like diamonds in the sky. I so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Palms rise to the universe as we moonshine and Malay. Feel the warmth, we'll never die. We're like diamonds in the sky. You're a shooting star, I see. A vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. At first sight, I felt the energy of sun rays. I saw the life inside you. Shine bright tonight. You and I were beautiful like diamonds in the sky. I so alive. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond. We're beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Shine bright like a diamond. Shine bright like a diamond. Shining bright like a diamond.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with, and where are you calling from?
Crippy Rob, man. Hey, it's Middle American here in Texas, man.
Hey, what's going on, Middle American? How's everything going, bro? You chilling?
Yeah. We're getting a little storm here, so if you hear a little thunder, man, that's what it is.
Oh, got you. Got a little tornado warning too, or what?
Yeah, man. I was listening to everything he was saying, and it started bringing everything together. I was like, man, I got to call. I got to call him out, bro.
Call him. What did he want to talk about?
I got this little thing. I've been thinking about that nobody's talking about. I mean, I heard a little something on it, but it was like a little something. But it was a nugget, bro. So I don't got the full story, right?
Sure.
Like the news ain't putting it all out there, and so I got it from some B-roll media somewhere, but I Googled it for a second, but I was at work, so I didn't have a lot of time. But long story short, you know how they were letting the women and children leave Ukraine, right?
Yeah.
But the men, they had to stay there.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I was listening to your other show a while ago whenever, and this part of this one, whenever you were talking about the transgender stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So basically the way the story goes is there was a female that identified, and, I could be getting little parts of this wrong. Like I said, dude, take this with a grain of salt, but this, the basics of it are true. All right. So she identified as a man and married a woman in Ukraine. Now, this is a really, really hard thing to do. You got to go through government entities in order to do it, and it takes a very, very long time to do.
Okay.
But they were basically transgender. All right. She was basically transgender. So what I heard the phone call that she was making to a news station, and that's how I fell onto the story, man. And they basically, since they had her on paper as a man, they weren't letting her leave. But the woman that she was with, they had adopted a child. The woman and the child were leaving, but she was going to be stuck there and had to fight. And she was reaching out to these news stations trying to get something to be overturned where she could leave or whatever because she didn't want to have to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings up a really, really good point. Because if you look at it from the other spectrum, I mean, what are we going to do? I mean, Biden and them, they were talking about, having like maternity flight suits on our women here. I mean, what are we going to do, man? Are we going to send our women to fight Russians, man? I mean,
when you really think about that, that's a good point.
I know you see this little niche that I'm hitting here, but it's something big.
No, you're right. I didn't think of it. I didn't think of it that way. What I thought you were getting at is before you made that point, and it's a good point. It's like, okay, we're allowing Ukrainian transgenders because they're everywhere, bro. They're a small ass percentage, but whatever. I'm sure there is. Like they were born a man, but they want to become a woman, and then they don't want to participate in a war. But there we go, sending off women in our country. The only thing I could say to that, I see what's wrong in it. And I have members of the family that are in the military that they feel the same way, that they know women serve, but they don't feel like women should be involved in the infantry or in war. But if the women are voluntarily doing that, I don't like it's, I guess if in our country, like if the woman is like, nah, I'm die hard. Like I want to fucking serve the country and I want to kill. I don't give a fuck. Like if the transgender bitch doesn't want to do it, I want to do it. Like, I guess I'll give them space, but I know where you're coming from. I feel where you're coming from. I thought you were going to tell me about because I think there was a transgender chick that was on Tucker, if I'm not mistaken. Am I going crazy? I think
No. This is completely different. And like I said, it was something that I was listening to at work, and I was like, hold on, man. Like I need to do a little fact checking here. And I was checking it out, and dude, it was legit. Now I don't have the whole story. Like I didn't remember the whole story, and that's why I was telling you, man. This might be something that you're interested in because this chick is like calling all the news stations in America. Like she's trying to get out of this and leave. But the problem is her and her wife had to go through so much trouble just to get her gender changed that they're like, no, not now, man. Because, we went through all this trouble and you said that you were a man. You're staying.
Yeah, exactly. I see it here.
And so the if you look at the contrast of that, man, like whenever it comes down to it, you know what I mean? Like whenever it comes down, whenever it's not words anymore, whenever it's actually what you got to do, like I believe this whole idea starts falling apart.
You're absolutely
is what I'm trying to say. And the phone call that I heard, that's exactly what it felt like was going on, man, is that this whole idea, like in that phone call, you'll hear it if you look it up, where she's making these phone calls, you can hear the whole transgender idea just falling apart, man. You know what I mean?
I see it here. I found it on I could play it now. I'm gonna end up playing it on the show before we end the show, but I found it here. She's blonde,
yeah,
right?
Dude. I think that this is something that you'll love, man. I honestly do, because I listen to you all the time, and I think that this is something that you'll be really, really interested in, bro. And like I said, the cool part about it is it's the contrast of everything, to where you have these same people that are all about Ukraine. And they're also for women's rights and transgender rights. Well, this is where it totally starts getting hypocritical at.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they want equal rights.
And even the transgender people are admitting, no. Don't do this to me. Don't do this to me.
Yeah.
And it's the same people that claim that they support them that are doing this to them.
No, and I get what you're saying. It's true.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the report here. I'm going to play the video before we're done. But yeah, like they're basically trying to get away with like, oh, how convenient. Now it's like you're transgender, you don't want to fight. Well, no, you're going to have to serve. You're going to have to serve in this situation. But
right. Yeah. Hey, bro, I wanted to drop that. Like I usually try to call in, at least once a week.
Yeah.
And but I found that very interesting. Like I said, I watch you all the time. I figured that you would definitely find that interesting.
I'm gonna check it out, man. Not so many people have brought that out, but I see that there's a Time article. There's a Time magazine article about other cases, though. Apparently, like after fleeing Ukraine, LGBTQ refugees search for there's another article there.
I wish I would have had more time to check it out. Like I said, I just got off of work, and I was just listening to your show whenever I was taking shower stuff. I was like, all right, dude, I got to call him and let him know about this, because he was tapping on the war, and then you were tapping on like you were on both sides of it. And I was like, dude, it's right in the middle. Like, he'll love that.
Yeah, bro. Thanks for bringing that up, bro. Thanks for calling in, man. Remember, you can
Cool.
call in whenever you want, bro.
Hell yeah.
Thanks a lot,
Hell yeah.
bro.
You have a good night, man.
You too, man. You have a good night. God bless, bro. I was thinking about going to Texas. Texas is going to have another CPAC, and they're going to have CPAC in August. There's going to be another CPAC event 2022 in Texas. I think it's going to be in. I'm not sure what city it's going to be in, but I don't think I'm going to go to CPAC. If I'm going to go to any event, it's going to be just another rally. Like I said, I'm going to be going to a rally in Georgia in a couple of weeks. Oh, that's monkey. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. What up, Grave Street? What up? What up? What up, homeboy? What up, Frankie? Oh, yeah, I'm going to get back to you on Instagram, bro. I haven't, I know that you probably sent me a message on Instagram. I'm going to check it out, bro. I'm going to get back with you in regards to what we were talking about. Texas is fun. Texas is fun. No, Texas is hella fun. Everything's bigger Texas. I want to go to Texas, and I want to, well, there's several places that I want to go to in Texas. I definitely want to go to, where I want to go this year is definitely Tennessee, definitely Utah, and North Carolina. My homeboy lives in Asheville, North Carolina. I'm going to go to North Carolina. And then when I go to North Carolina, I'm going to drive across the border, and I'm going to, legally cross the border into Tennessee, and I'm going to spend some time in Knoxville. I would like to go to Nashville, but I'm going to go to Knoxville for sure, see Knoxville, see what up. And then I'm going to visit Park City, Utah, and Salt Lake City, Utah, because the company that I work for is based out of Salt Lake City, and there'll probably be an event. I'd love to definitely check it out. Meter el pie, porque tú sabes, meter el pie. I didn't get to see a picture of the psychedelic suit. Texas, best state in the world. I'm going to actually share something, folks. I'm going to share something that I had set up here, just a quick video, and then we'll take let me take a quick look here. I'm gonna play another song, and then it's actually 9:40. I'm gonna just play this because I want to check this out real quick. I just had this pulled up. I want to go ahead and just watch the video. Give me a second.
Eric, are you feeling it in Florida as well? How do you read the coverage of high gas prices? Because it is obviously a real issue.
I was gonna say you should come to Florida. I only paid $60 to fill up my tank. But
nice. He starts by laughing off high gas prices, stating that he only paid $60 to fill up his car, not realizing apparently that $60 is a lot to fill up your car, especially when you're middle class and commuting to work every day. Or maybe he was trying to make a joke about how high gas prices are. I'm not sure, but he does go on to treat it like it's not a legitimate issue. We're going to fry some more potatoes, but first, this free coin offer from Noble Gold. People are warring clients who hurts. DK, call it
in November and even earlier. And
okay, I got to stop here. I'm sorry. His claim is that Fox News is doing something sinister by connecting high gas prices to Joe Biden.
No new fracking. We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
Well, like what about, say, stopping fracking and stopping pipe?
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated. I guarantee you, we're going to end fossil fuel, and I am not going to cooperate. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period.
I don't know if anybody feels the way that I feel or understands the way that it is, but I'll tell you right now, I don't think we're going to World War III at all. It's not going to be World War III. And I'll tell you right now that because it's not going to be World War III because there's not going to be a war. It's not going to be some shit that lasts for 4 years, 10 years. It's not going to be like what was going on in Iraq with ISIS and all this other bullshit. If we were to go to war with China and Russia, this country is never going to allow itself to be taken over by anybody. This country is never going to be America, the United States of America. Like, regardless of Joe Biden being the president, this country is the fucking strongest country on the planet. Fuck China, fuck Russia. This country would take out everybody before they allow themselves to be taken out. So I don't think anything is going to happen. Could shit get rough, turbulent? Absolutely, it can get that way. But this country is not going to lose a damn thing. This country will fucking China and Russia in a second. This country will not allow that to happen. Like, you hear these reports and this propaganda like, oh, the empire will fall, all empires fall. Yes, I understand all these things. I understand the history, right? Believe me, this country is not going down. Like, I don't agree with the administration there, but this country is not going to go down. This country is managed by individuals who are never going to let this property go down. It's not going to happen. There's definitely an enemy from within, but the people, right? The people, and not even the people that manage, just the people itself. The people that manage this country are never going to allow it to be taken over for business reasons. And they're not going to sell out to China for any money, any more money, and none of that bullshit like that. Does that happen? Yes, but that's not what's going to happen to this country. And the people are not going to ever allow it to happen. But we're never going to be invaded in a way, taken over. None of that shit's ever going to happen. We'll take out everybody with nukes before something like that happens. And if it means we end up dying, we die too. That this country will take out itself along with the entire planet before it gets taken over. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we're never going to allow for a fucking nuclear weapon to hit our soil and destroy like 20% of the population. This country is never going to allow that. This country's ready for that already. This country's already ready for that, folks. I wouldn't worry about World War III at all. Like, it's entertaining, all of this propaganda, and at the same time, it's real and scary. It's entertaining because it's news, so it's keeping us distracted, keeping us entertained, keeping us following something. At least me, I'm politicking all the fucking time, but it's and I'm not really following the war per se, right? I'm just saying like the mainstream thing is the war now, like Ukraine, Russia, that bullshit. But that's not. We're not going to be threatened by Russia. We're not going to be threatened by China, folks. It's just not going to happen. Our military stops. No, I know that the United States is never going to allow. The United States will never go down, bro. It'll never go down. Like, we'll take out all these motherfuckers. We're like the real OGs. This country is the real OG. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just something that's not going to happen. Let me continue with this real quick.
Ends. Number one.
3 consecutive American presidents have enjoyed stints of explosive economic growth due to a boom in oil and natural gas production. As president, would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes.
What's interesting to me about this is that this isn't new for Fox. They were trying to make this connection back in November and even earlier.
Something that
prices at $3 a gallon.
What we are seeing is, a government run for the oil company. Drivers are paying a heavy price for the Bush administration's failure to enact a comprehensive energy strategy. This Congress, under the Democratic leadership, is working to make up for years of inaction, taking America in a new direction that helps bring down the cost of gas.
Gas prices have more than doubled since George Bush became our president.
Then Obama gets into office, has even higher gas prices, and this is what we get.
You wouldn't think high gas and oil prices would be a blessing in disguise, but they are. As Victor Lopez found out, they're causing a big jump in the number of jobs.
We turn now to 5 things you should know about gas, specifically why gas prices, even at over $4 a gallon, can sometimes be a good thing.
And we know that rising gas prices are forcing us to search for alternative fuels and more fuel-efficient cars. There are some other reasons to be optimistic about the high cost of gas. Here are just a few of them.
2,220 people have already been saved over the past year because a reduction in driving has led to less particle pollution in the air. If gas prices stay at $4 a gallon for a year or more, then we can expect that about 1,000 people a month will not die.
Despite the fact that these gas prices have been rising since Joe Biden took office, despite the fact that Biden is fanatically and openly anti-oil, anti-drilling, and pro-getting our oil from foreign enemies. Despite the fact that we've heard excuse after excuse after excuse from the Democrats themselves and their mouthpieces, like this guy, claiming that inflation has nothing to do with Biden's insane spending, is temporary, is Trump's fault, is COVID's fault, and now is Putin's fault. Despite all of this, we're supposed to believe that this is some kind of shadowy right-wing conspiracy by Fox News to hurt Joe Biden, whose approval numbers just a couple weeks ago were below 36% and have only bounced back a few points since the State of the Union, which, of course, the Democrat state media lost their minds over. Just look at how CNN reacted when gas prices dropped just a few cents, which, of course, they attributed to Joe Biden.
Gas prices are heading down. Government forecast says that they could drop below $3 a gallon. Whew.
Finally, some economic relief, however minor. Americans are paying a little less at the pump after weeks of rising energy prices.
Relief for the United States as energy costs drop.
That pain that you've been feeling at the pump, it may be short-lived. There is finally some relief at the pump.
Good news at the pump.
Finally getting some relief, as you mentioned.
The national average price of gas dropped 4 cents in the last week.
Gas dropped nearly a nickel in the last week.
It's a 7-week low. It's moving in the right direction. The average is now at a 7-week low, actually a 7-week low.
Slightly lower gas prices, so that's good news.
Yeah, this is the kind of positive news we wanted.
Really good economic news, including dropping gas prices.
Gas prices will tumble below $3 a gallon soon. So that's good news.
A person familiar with the White House's thinking told me today that lower prices at the pump are good news.
And I do think we have to note that gas prices and natural gas, for example, going way down.
There are plenty of signs that the U.S. economy is strong.
This economy moving in the right direction.
I'm sure it's just somehow different when they do it.
And right now, what it feels like is an attempt to sort of forestall the natural tendency that Americans have to rally around the president when he's in the middle of an international crisis, especially something like the Ukraine war, where there seems to be a lot of agreement with how he's handling it.
Not this time. It never happened.
What the f*** is he basing this on? According to CNN just yesterday, this massive show of support for his bumbling circus of a Ukrainian policy amounts to a 5-point bump, bringing him to 42%.
There seems to be a lot of agreement with how he's handling it.
And what is there exactly to support? I am by no means advocating for World War III here, but Putin is doing what he's doing because the West looks and acts weak. Biden and the rest of NATO are just oozing with weakness right now. Hopefully, for all of us, they're taking a lesson from Sun Tzu, but I highly doubt it. All Putin has to do is ratchet up his current campaign and keep threatening nuclear war if anyone gets involved. And that's about all there is to say about it. The West is way too scared of Russia to do anything about it. And just think about how great all of this is going to go once China starts getting involved. The current sanctions, or even more sanctions, aren't going to stop anything. It might actually motivate Putin to continue his campaign into the rest of the former Soviet states. If I were Poland, I'd be worried right now. There's a lot more to say about this, but yeah, let's go, Brandon.
So these rising gas prices are a good way to sort of push back against the good feelings that Biden is engendering without actually taking aim at the Ukraine war or anything that.
Smoke sesh, folks. Smoke sesh, and then I'm going to take a couple of more calls.
Words like violence break the silence, come crashing into my little world. Painful to me, it's right through me. Don't you understand?
Oh, my little girl.
All I ever wanted, all I've needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary, they can only do harm. Vows are spoken to be broken, feelings are intense, words are trivial, pleasures remain, so does the pain. Words are meaningless and forgettable. All I ever wanted, all I ever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary, they can only do harm. heart. All ever wanted, all ever needed is here in my arms. Words are very unnecessary, they can only do harm.
Okay, maybe one more song and then we'll take calls.
Lately, USA is getting scarier. Half of the Americans I see all hate America. They hate the cops doing their best to take care of us and kneel for the flag and salt the soldiers that we're burying. I'm tired of the pissing and complaining. Why you living in America if all you do is hate it? You think it's brave to take a stand against the nation? Real bravery is dying for the right so you can say it. Dear America, what happened to Americans? Apparently no one's aware or cares that it's embarrassing. It's arrogance. Our greatest enemy was always slavery and terrorists, and now it's people in the country trying to burn the heritage. I can't help it, I just seem to see the world different. It ain't Republicans or liberals, it's mental illness. The internet is only interested in left opinions. Cancel culture's got more power lately than the First Amendment. If you don't like it, leave. We will not defund police. We don't want no riots in our neighborhoods or in the streets. We respect freedom of speech. We protect what we believe. We don't want nobody dead, so please do not tread on me. In America, your freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you pack your bags. America. Does anybody know what the hell happened to the Patriots? Lately, this nation is so ashamed and hating itself. Did everyone forget that people died to pay for this? Ungratefulness, United States gave everything to you just to help. I just want to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family. I don't need your help to understand it was a tragedy. Can I just be thankful for my country eating happily without you trying to guilt me for the genocide and casualties? I can't help it, I just seem to see the world different. It ain't black or white, it's conflict designed by the system. I don't need your pronouns, all I see is men and women. Kids are taking pills for fun while people can't afford prescriptions. If you don't like it, go. Hate it, then don't call it home. We don't need no violence, got no time for all you radicals. Screw your status quo, we're not animals. I won't kneel for the anthem, cause the flag is what I'm standing for. In America, your freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you pack your bags. America. You can hate the government and still love the country. The fundamental values of America are concrete. Republicans and liberals are dumb, to put it bluntly. They're labels that they use to create chaos and corruption. You can know the history and still be proud of where you're from. Every flag around the world is covered in a little blood. We started out United States divided is what we've become. If home is where the heart is, you should show America some love. In America, your freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you pack your bags. America.
All right, folks. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'm going to start to take your phone calls again if you want to call in. I'm going to make room for a couple of more callers and just limit the time here, folks. Let's take a look here. All right. If you want to call, the numbers on the screen, 1-800-260-7062, 1-800-260-7062. You could talk about anything that's going on right now, whether it's going on or not. Honestly, you could just call in, not a problem. I think he's exploiting conservatism. Yeah, he might be middle America. Excuse me, residue cough from the dabs. I mean, you could say that. I don't think he's. I mean, a lot of people are capitalizing. I saw this other dude, this white boy from Florida, from Tampa. He's all tatted up. He's fucking exploiting conservatism because he sucks. This motherfucker, Tom McDonald, is fire, and he wasn't necessarily exposing conservative. He's just more popular now, right? But he's been kind of on that tread for a little bit. He started off with a few thousand, but he's fire. He's fire. He's fire. He's fire for sure. His I don't think he would be an example, but I get where you're coming from. Like, everybody's making money off conservatism right now. Like, everybody's trying to capitalize off it. You know, like when I went to CPAC, there were so many motherfuckers out there that are selling Trump merchandise. And believe me, not everybody that's selling Trump merchandise is necessarily a Trump supporter, ladies and gentlemen. You might think they are. That's not the case. But we live in a capitalist country where you can make money doing whatever the fuck is in. You get what I'm saying? But I feel you on that. I don't like people that exploit conservatism. And there's definitely a couple of people out there. I forgot what his name is. But it's another white boy that he's like kind of chunky and he's tatted up. I forgot what his name is. He's from Hillsborough County, which is like the Tampa area. He's fucking horrible. He sucks. So I definitely think he's exposing. I definitely believe he's exposing it. All right. If anybody wants to call in, you can call in. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna play another song till we receive a phone call. If a phone call comes in, no problem. I'm gonna go ahead and answer that phone call. Let me see here. Ta-da. Give me a quick second, folks. Give me a second, folks. Thought that it was being shared. I forgot that after that Tom McDonald, we're getting it. So I'm gonna play a song in just a second, folks. Bear with me a quick second because we're getting another phone call. All right. Thank you so much for calling the Cannabis Analysis Hour. Who do you have the pleasure of speaking with, and where are you calling from today?
What's up, man? It's Jack from Colorado.
Hey, what up,
Called you,
Jack?
I think last week. How you doing?
I remember. Everybody's gonna cling on right now. Everybody's gonna say, "Okay, let's listen." The time to keep the ears open. What's going on, man? How you doing? Everything good?
Oh, that's nice of you. So the first thing I wanted to say was just into what you were talking about just now with Tom McDonald. Whether or not he's exploiting conservatism, that's totally open for discussion. I think there's a lot of grifters.
Sure.
There's people who, to what you were saying about people selling Trump merch that never supported Trump, there's people that were never Trumpers that are now talking about how Trump needs to come back and all that stuff.
You know? Yeah.
And that's, that is a whole other thing. The grift is extremely strong. You see them everywhere on Fox News and anywhere else, just trying to sort of sheep dip themselves as nationalist populists. That obviously doesn't work. We can smell a phony, but
for sure. I think we lost you for a second. Like the signal probably faded out, but I'll keep you on here. Probably just went in and out for a second. There you go.
My bad. Yeah, no, I have terrible cell service where I am. But so this is actually kind of important, is what I was going to say, because the way the political parties align is shifting. You call it a realignment, and that's a big deal. Those have happened historically, in all countries, all over the world. But particularly some of them that have happened here have been really consequential. One of the bigger realignments that happened was during the late 60s when the Democrats signed the Civil Rights Act into law under Johnson.
Correct.
first of all, they had actually opposed civil rights legislation for many years before that. It was actually on the backs of Republicans that the civil rights legislation even got done. And then the Democrats basically were in office when they couldn't hold it off any longer. So they signed it and then took credit for it. Hilariously, when signing the bill, Johnson reportedly said, you know, this isn't on tape or in any transcripts or anything, but people say that he said, this will get those N-words voting for us for 200 years. And I don't say the N-word. I know you do. But yeah, that's what he said when he signed that legislation. So that was a very, you know, calculated move on his part to get black people to vote Democrat, and it worked. And that was a huge realignment, that if you had been in favor of equal rights for blacks or any number of other things that tagged along with the civil rights legislation, you suddenly became a Democrat. And that was a very consequential realignment. You know, Bill Clinton, I think, got 99% of the black vote or something crazy like that. Barack Obama did too, of course, and he won largely because of an increase in black turnout. So that was hugely consequential. There's another realignment happening right now. And it's happening really fast. You know, usually these take sometimes like a generation to get going. But this one has happened in like a couple years. And what it is a shift of several different vectors of political thought. You sort of think of it as a spectrum of left to right. But I don't know if anyone ever took calculus or anything like that. There's more axes on a graph than just one that goes left to right. There's a y-axis, and in a three-dimensional graph, there's a z-axis and stuff like that. So the left to right liberal conservative spectrum works for some things, but not for others. It's actually becoming less useful now. What we think in terms of now is starting to shift towards populism and elitism. That is to say, do you care about the little guy, or do you think that the rich people should just be able to run everything?
It's a class
shit like that. Globalism and nationalism. Do you take an internationalist approach where you like want to get, treaties together and transnational organizations and big corporations and stuff? Do you want to strengthen everyone's ties to, China, for example? Or do you want your country to be self-sufficient? And that's just one piece of the nationalism versus globalism debate, but that's an axis to think about. There's also libertarian versus authoritarian. We think of liberals in the traditional sense as being libertarian, being in favor of freedom and all that. And on certain things they are. Freedom for gays to get married, freedom to have abortions or whatever. They're libertarian on some stuff, but on other stuff, COVID is a great example. They're extremely authoritarian. And you look up north to Justin Trudeau, Mr. Liberal poster boy. He suddenly became an authoritarian dictator, like overnight. And it was because of COVID and people protesting the mandates. So there's a big realignment happening. And it's interesting to watch, because what's happened is conservatism has become, in decades past, it was like the stodgy, old school, traditional family values things. It wasn't cool, in other words. Now that's actually not true. It's becoming cool. It's becoming the new counterculture, where if you wanted to rebel in like the 80s, you would, become a hardcore liberal. That was what the whole anti-war movement was about, even further back than that. In Vietnam and stuff. It was, fight the power and vote Democrat.
That's why Nixon had to oppose the war on drugs.
Now that's not that way. So Tom McDonald and others, people, maybe cynically trying to exploit the conservative movement. That's possible. But what it actually is it's showing us that suddenly this is like cool now, and it's part of this like counterculture that's brewing as part of this big political realignment. And I see it even in some members of my family. You know, the older folks tend to be liberals, but the kids, you know, my age and younger, they're actually like pretty conservative, and it's come from the fact that they're libertarians, they're populists, they don't have any money, so why would they not support people, want to support people who don't have money, and things like that. It's actually becoming like a cool cultural thing to be, you know, not necessarily conservative in the traditional sense, but what you might call a Trump conservative, a nationalist, populist, libertarian style of conservative who might not really even care about gay marriage or abortion or any of the like traditional family values stuff, but rather supports those other things like protecting America from bullshit trade deals or not having people infringe on your freedoms to say what you want and buy a gun and you know, and things like that.
The tent
so
is
it's like kind
large.
of important. It seems like a silly thing to have somebody up there rapping about loving America and all that, but it actually does kind of matter. And that's just you know what I had thought when you were talking about Tom McDonald.
Remember, and it's true. The thing is, like I've spoken about this before, like the conservatives, right? Necessarily the Republican tent is huge, right? Like you said, we have a variety of people that are a part of that, people that are pro-choice that still vote Republican, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're a fucking evangelical Christian. You have to be an evangelical Christian to be a conservative or something like that, right? The tent is huge, and people are just voting Republican because Donald Trump, Donald Trump represents so many things, right? Like you said, the American nationalism, but also just the sense of freedom. A lot of these kids, these young kids that are going through COVID, that are having to be forced to wear masks, you are creating hardcore MAGA kids. Like that's the thing.
Absolutely.
It's happening in front of us. What I was going to tell you, one of those other pivotal things that happened back in time, which the Civil Rights Act came after, but remember the fact that JFK freed Martin Luther King from a jail cell back in the day, that a lot of people don't even really acknowledge, helped him get like the majority of the black vote.
And a bunch of Democrats really hated him for doing that.
Yeah,
that was actually a very controversial move at the time. Yeah, definitely. And it's no coincidence that his vice president and successor after he was killed was the one to sign that, because he had sort of opened that door already. And you call him one of the Southern Democrats that was really instrumental in the oppression. He saw what JFK had done and realized in a totally cynical fashion that he could manipulate people by signing the Civil Rights Act. That was politically it was a brilliant move on both their parts to gain black support through doing that. Even though in JFK's case, a bunch of Democrats who were like Klansmen really hated him for doing that. But he saw the future, and he saw that you could swing the black vote away from Republicans, and that's exactly what he and Johnson did. It was actually a pretty brilliant scheme.
One of the next consequential, I was going to say, one of the next consequential things that the Republican Party, I'm just going to say Republican Party because it's like we said, the tent is very extensive. They need to end the drug
and it's
war.
it's about way more than the two-party system.
Yeah,
that's
way more than that.
My point in saying all of this.
For sure. We're just saying Republican just for the basic reason of
for simplicity.
Just to make it simple, right? Just layman's terms, and it's as simple as possible. It's fucking Republicans, but that means libertarian. That can mean a whole bunch of stuff, right? But that could even mean Democrats, right? That vote for it. But what the Republicans need to do when they take power, because they're going to take, if everything is not fucked with, they should definitely be able to take control, and they need to decriminalize. If they were to take steps like decriminalizing marijuana through them, and then even have Biden sign it, but them do it, or have Trump do it when they get in, that's going to be a pivotal thing that changes the way. Because that's the thing, they really, that's more of an important thing than people really acknowledge. Like everybody just pushes it under the rug. Oh, it's just weed. Like, oh, it's just stoners. It's just potheads. No. It represents a huge thing.
No, and that's definitely going to be an issue. Look, Matt Gaetz has been vocally pro legalization, and a few of the other Trumpublicans or whatever you want to call them, the populists, have been on that kick too. And I'll say this, the establishmentarians, the old school rhinos you'd call them, but they used to be Republicans because that's what was every Republican was a rhino.
Exactly.
They're on board with it too, strictly for money-making potential. You remember the speaker under Obama? His name was John Boehner, kind of hilariously spelled.
Now he's pro-weed, the Catholic.
B-O-E-H-E-N-E-R.
The guy with the fucking tan.
John Boehner runs the pot lobby in Washington, D.C. He's actually like a tycoon. He owns shares in several farms, like several grow operations, and is like a big-time heavy hitter in the pot lobby in D.C. And he's pushing hard for legalization. So that, I mean, talk about a realignment. When you get Matt Gaetz and John Boehner sitting at the same table, like, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
I mean, it's guaranteed to happen at some point. It's only a question of how long it takes, and I could see it happening pretty fast. I don't think it's totally out of the question, but yeah, absolutely, the Republicans can totally capitalize on that and a bunch of other populist issues.
Exactly.
It relies on us getting rid of the rhinos first and foremost, the people that are going to oppose that. But we're actually doing a pretty decent job at that. Greg Abbott won his primary in Texas, but he actually didn't win it by that much. He got less than 70% of the vote. So the ball is moving, and it might take a couple more cycles for the Republican Party to become truly populist.
Exactly.
But it's already happening, and stuff like COVID, has completely changed the conversation. Elections are, by and large, apart from simple turnout elections where it's all about driving up your base, we're so partisan right now as a culture that the base pretty much turns out all the time. So what really has happened now is that every election is now decided among independents. What we have are, for example, this among many other groups, the COVID moms who probably would vote Democrat if everything was the same as it always was. But what's happened now is they see quite clearly that the Democrats are the party of lockdowns, and your kids can't go to school and they have to wear a mask even though they have no risk from the virus. And all that other stuff. And that's what we saw in Virginia and elsewhere. So there's a big sort of rebellion brewing that comes on the back of populist libertarianism and nationalism to a certain extent as well, as we see sort of how this geopolitical structure, this liberal internationalism, has failed us. And I think that's most evident right now with the war in Ukraine, but it was evident before that with the Chinese virus, as everyone should call it.
Exactly. That's
the other thing, if I can just throw in one more thing before I go, the other thing that was super important that broke today was this confirmed intelligence report. Now, look, like I said, I'm getting a PhD in this. I actually have a master's in intelligence management. The fact that the media reports things as being an intelligence, source or whatever, that could mean three things, basically. It could be legit. I'm not going to discount that possibility. Second of all, it could be total fucking bullshit. There's no verification for any of this. How many times did we see during Trump, an intelligence official, unnamed, anonymous intelligence official said this, and this, and then we find out like 2 months later that was a complete fabrication. So either it's a lie, or the third possibility is it's an intentional manipulation that the through the vestiges of Operation Mockingbird, people can look that up. That's a CIA operation designed in the 1960s to infiltrate the media. And it was grossly successful. It was completely a runaway success.
That's still
and it
occurring. That's all
continues
happening.
to this day.
Yeah, that's all happening. Anderson Cooper, all of them are involved. I
Yeah,
think Mark
Anderson
Dice
Cooper
talks
is
about
a
it.
great example.
Yeah.
First of all, his birth name is not even Anderson Cooper. He's actually a Vanderbilt.
Exactly.
But yeah, he worked for the CIA for 4 years before he entered broadcast journalism. That tells you everything you need to know. But the connections are far greater than that. Anderson Cooper is just like a perfect example of it. But anyway, so an intelligence report comes out today, leaked to the media, which again tells you a few different things possibly, that Russia has gone to China seeking military assistance, not even trying to circumvent the sanctions, which is something that everybody had anticipated, not trying to make new trade partnerships or anything like that, but actually looking for hardware.
Yeah.
That's a huge fucking deal if it's true. And we don't know if it's true. It could easily be a lie. Most things we hear are lies. But if that's true, we really have to watch China closely through this period, because they're essentially they're gonna be like kind of like they've been for a long time, caught between two worlds. They can keep trying to play the liberal internationalist game, which they've done really successfully ever since Nixon opened the doors to them in the late 70s. They've been making a ton of money off the West, and to that end, they might not want to do anything to cross us, or they can see their objectives diverge from us, the West, a little bit, and take sides with Russia and basically form a new Cold War bloc of East versus West, just as it was, just like it used to be in the bad old days, where they then say, well, we're going to let Russia do this thing to Ukraine because we want to do the same thing to Taiwan. And they actually are broadcasting that a little bit. You see it in a lot of their media coverage has been extreme, saying that Ukraine is just, little Russia, sort of like Taiwan is little China. The little brother, gone wayward brother that needs to be brought back home.
They're already letting you know.
Same language, same ideas. But so if that's going to be how it is, we're basically looking at a return to like full-on Cold War status of an entire block of nations aligned against the rest of the world. They also might not do that. It's possible that they just want to keep, milking the cow, keep the goose with the golden eggs alive, aka keep strong economic ties with the West. They've been able to do that even through the malfeasance of theirs surrounding COVID, but that might also change over time, particularly as we might finally get an investigation into the origins of the virus. And also where COVID was sort of like a controversial thing, at least initially, that like, oh, we don't know if it was the Chinese that did it or whatever. This is very black and white in media, the Ukraine situation. So if China ends up on what, the narrative says is the wrong side of the issue, aka Putin did nothing wrong, I guess would be their position, the world might very well turn on them. And we might even see, stalwart friends of China like the NBA and Apple and Amazon and all that stuff start to, get a little nervous about the fact that China's supporting this war of aggression, according to the media, and they might start to back off there, and that's very dangerous for them. That's playing with fire. Much like Putin has now lost access to Microsoft, which like every computer in the entirety of Russia is a Microsoft device. That's dangerous, and sort of like we talked last time, he's not going to be getting any aircraft parts and stuff like that. He's not going to get maritime shipping. No tankers from Mirsk and MSC are coming to Russia. China can't go down that road, so they have to make a really tricky decision right now. Do we support Russia, knowing that we're going to eventually do something very similar in Taiwan? Or do we try to keep Russia at arm's length so that we can maintain our trade relationships with the West? And I don't know what they're going to do. Like I said, it certainly looks like they're supporting Putin, at least in the short term. But him asking for military assistance, that could be a bridge too far. You know, they might be comfortable to help him out in the UN Security Council and stuff like that. But selling him weapons and stuff like that, that could rattle some cages in the West that gets people sort of moving in the other direction. So just for everyone's radar, keep that in mind. That's a pretty important development that we had today. Not sure what it all means or where it's going to go, but it's just something to keep an eye on. If China really forms a true military alliance with Russia, that's taken us straight back to the Cold War. Might as well just reset the clock to 1980 if that's what's going on.
If that ends up happening, yeah, that's exactly right. If China ends up making that decision, that's going to be the worst. That's going to be the worst for us. That's not going to be a good thing if they end up doing that. But like, you know, there's that likelihood that we would hope for. I don't know, man. We'll see what happens in the next 2 days. I guess we'll hear more in the next couple of days. I would imagine. But it doesn't seem like anything's ceasing. I mean, if Putin actually went to talk to them, that's more than enough already. He just went to talk to them. So the fact that he had a feeling they would consider selling weapons, that's already, like you said, that's important intelligence. If that's significant intelligence, if that's true.
Well, and we know how close their relationship has become. Putin, you know, again, according to reports, but this actually does seem to make sense factually. Putin said that he would wait until after the Olympics. That was reported.
Yeah.
And if you look at how it happened, the Olympics ended, and then like 2 days later, the invasion started. So that
48
seems
hours,
to be true.
Yeah.
They also, you know, the Chinese shared the intelligence that we, for some reason, gave them with the Russians. Which that's just stupid, and that shows how compromised Beijing Biden really is.
Yep.
But so they're clearly growing close. And the thing is, people sort of think, oh, they're these two Eastern big countries, they should be friends. They're actually not. They're enemies. They have territorial disputes. They don't know where their border really is. China lays claims to parts of Russia. Vladivostok and a couple other places are, according to China, just like the South China Sea and everywhere else, that's Chinese territory. So there's no reason they should be friends. What's happening is we're forcing them to be friends through our brain-dead policies and rampant corruption vis-a-vis Hunter, Jim, and Joe, the three stooges of the Biden family.
It feels like it
doesn't have to be that way.
It almost feels like everything that's happening, and like it just that you could we could joke about it, but it almost feels like, bro, like this motherfucker, like who knows what the hell happened with Biden and his son in Ukraine, that this has to have some kind of correlation. I mean, I feel like something's related. Did you watch? Have you had the opportunity to watch? Did you watch that documentary with Oliver Stone?
Without question, that is 100% on part of it.
Did you watch the documentary with Oliver Stone that's called the Ukraine on Fire, that they banned it from YouTube and it's available on Rumble? Have you seen it? It came out in 2016.
Yeah, I did. I have seen that.
That was interesting. I saw it the other day.
Yeah,
that was interesting.
Really interesting, and that's so all of that, you know, sort of like we talked about the biolabs last time I talked to you, and then that story proceeded to blow up, which was pretty funny.
And Newland is in the documentary. She's saying "fuck NATO" in the documentary.
That is also real.
Yeah,
all the corruption and everything like that is 100% real. Interestingly, the government that's in power right now, the government that we implanted in Ukraine following the CIA-backed coup in 2014, they're not only are they Nazis, that is also true, and of course they're not all Nazis. Zelensky's Jewish. I've had this conversation like hundreds of fucking times at this point.
Sure.
But there are Nazi elements to the government.
Absolutely.
Several different groups and parties that are aligned that sit in high positions in the government that backs Zelensky. Like whatever. It's pretty
deep,
funny.
man. It goes in deep. It goes in deep. People have to watch it.
A couple years ago, a bunch of congressional Democrats wrote this letter that was like voicing their concern that the Ukrainian government was being infiltrated by white nationalists and stuff like that. But of course, now those same people are saying that that's disinformation, but whatever. But if you look though, so there's it's basically this guy Kolomoisky for the most part, who's like sort of a kingmaker. He's like a George Soros figure, kind of. He was basically like the real owner of Burisma, the gas company that was embezzling all that money that Hunter was getting paid for. He's also backing a bunch of these different political groups, including Zelensky's party, but also including some of the far-right nationalists, the Nazis. There's a lot going on with that guy. I would again, I think I told you about this guy already, Patel Patriot. On Substack and Rumble does great work, great research, and he did a really good article on Ukraine called "From Ukraine with Love," and he goes into a lot of it. That and other sources, and that the Ukraine on Fire documentary is great. But this is all something that we built, and it's very much like the Kerrys, the Schiffs, the Bidens, obviously, the Clintons most predominantly, have built this sort of corrupt fiefdom in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, that they basically ran through the oligarchs like Kolomoisky and a few others that exists purely as a money laundering and kickback operation to just fill their pockets with millions and millions of dollars. So, the fact that we're having a military episode there is very coincidental, to say the least.
Yeah, it's like that's like if you're from the street,
biolab.
or just like a normal person, like if you're from the hood, like that's like, okay, somebody fucking like this is so simple to read. Like,
exactly.
You don't have to be fucking
so,
this is a simple plot.
To put that in the same pile as the biolabs and the Nazis, as to like very serious questions about what the hell is really going on, and also things that you're not allowed to talk about. Those two groups that come together.
Or now you're allowed to defend neo-Nazis on Facebook and encourage violence against Putin, as long as it's against Putin and in support of neo-Nazis.
Right. I saw that, and that's just the hysteria and the sort of the unilateral control of the narrative that's been perpetrated by mass media and big tech. In World War II is my favorite example of this. People were torturing and killing dachshunds, the little wiener dogs, because a dachshund is a German breed.
Yep.
And that it was being done in acts of like mob violence, of like, there's a dachshund, quick, kick it and step on it or whatever. That's happening again. The World Cat Federation or whatever that does all the cat shows, the cat competition, has banned Russian bred cats. What the fuck? What kind of sense does that make? But that's just like the completely brain dead, devoid of all logic and rational thought, gut emotional response that all this propaganda gets people to do. And that's why it's so dangerous.
It's affecting, that's the thing. It's affecting people. It's even seeping into the UFC, because I was watching the UFC last week and there was a Russian fighter who won the fight. And then he was just fucking, saying, oh, thanks, to my people in Russia. And he'd be like, boo. Like, I'm like, he can't even thank his
people. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. But, you almost can't, obviously, you and I and everyone watching are plenty smart and able to circumvent and avoid the propaganda. We have built up an immunity, so to speak.
Over the years.
But you almost can't blame people for getting sucked in, because we're being bombarded 24 hours a day now with pictures of like dead pregnant women and stuff like that, and just like horrifying, mind warping stuff. That really is like disgusting and terrifying and immensely sad and enraging, and it just gets it's every negative emotion in the world. So people of less strong constitution, as you, I, and everyone else watching, are going to naturally start to succumb to that eventually. And that's the danger of it all. You know, 1984 talks about it. If you can stir up enough negative emotions in people, they will absolutely do whatever you want them to do. They had in that book and movie 2 Minutes of Hate, the 2 Minutes Hate, where they would just put someone up on a screen and everyone would just yell at them and say, you know, throw things and say a bunch of curses, and it got to be this like primal experience that people would actually like enjoy that and look forward to that. We've put Putin up there, not that Putin is not reprehensible.
Sure.
I'm certainly not saying that.
No, for
He
sure.
is reprehensible,
Of course,
but
absolutely.
so is every American president been for the most part.
Yeah.
But we've done that. We've now put him up as the object that it's okay to hate, and everyone should hate. And you should completely give up all your rationality and independent thought in order to just blindly hate this man who, you know, has nuclear weapons and stuff. It's pretty stupid when you think about it.
Like he could just fucking like people
yeah,
have to really
I mean,
think about that. Nobody's thinking about that, but that's how simple. Nobody's even there. There are a lot of people who are still not even with as much that's going on. There's people who aren't even, which I guess could be a good thing, but it's really not. Like they don't even know anything's going on. There's still people out there that don't know anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, I meet people like that all the time. What I will say is that myself being one of them, there are people who live and breathe this all day, every day. Like getting my PhD, this is 100% of my life right now, is like doing this and thinking about this in very dispassionate, 1,000-foot view, objective, rational, totally clear perspectives. Those are the type of people that are in like the national security foreign policy apparatus in Washington.
Correct.
And a lot of them are fucking idiots. I will certainly agree with that. But there are very few like partisan, hyper-emotional lunatics. Those people tend to be in the media, and that's why their voices are so amplified. So it seems like everyone's going crazy, but the people who are actually in control, while they might be idiots, are not being driven by raw emotionality. They're actually trying to think clearly about our interests, even if those interests might include corrupt business deals, bioweapons labs and stuff like that they can't talk about. They're clear-headed. They might be evil and they might also be stupid, but they're not being governed by their emotions, which is really important. And that's why even among the dumbass TV generals, you still see people saying, okay, a no-fly zone sounds good, but it wouldn't work, and it's actually a really bad idea.
Yeah.
The people like the calls are growing for a no-fly zone. Like, yeah, maybe in the media they are, but certainly amongst people who actually know, who actually understand things, that is just as much of a dead issue as it always was.
Exactly.
And that's what makes me mad, just aside, is that some of the morons actually wind up on TV as the TV generals and so-called experts. It's really pathetic. The dude Kellogg, who I actually liked before all this happened, and now I've seen how he really operates and what he truly believes, and I now don't respect him hardly at all.
They're all like that.
He was saying they're all like that, and it's really hard to find good ones. Tucker's guy, Colonel McDonald.
He was on CNN. He was on Trey Gowdy's show. I think he was on Trey Gowdy's show.
Good.
And Jennifer Griffin came in and said, your guest said something which was like spouting Russian propaganda or something. Like she said some shit about it. Jennifer Griffin has gone at it with several people.
That was a crazy night.
Yeah.
Tucker mentioned the biolabs like a week and a half ago. And then last week, right at the end of the week, I think it was Thursday, he really did a deep dive into the biolabs.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get any straight answers, and we still haven't gotten answers. And seriously, like, good luck to anyone who wants to try to find out what the hell's going on with the biolabs.
Yeah, it's never gonna happen.
Because it's not gonna happen.
Like, you're not gonna. If you think you're not gonna find out about COVID, you're not gonna find out about the biolabs.
Yeah, right. Exactly. For sure. Tucker did like a huge long, like almost the whole hour on the biolabs. And then right afterwards, Hannity comes on with Jen Griffin, and they both talk about how if you bring up the biolabs, you're like a threat to democracy and a Putin stooge and all that. It was so ridiculous. But yeah, Jen Griffin did say that. And yeah, the fact that she's like held up as an expert, when first of all she's ever done is be a reporter. She doesn't have any actual job experience.
No. She's just hearing
what really
shit.
bothers me is the people with job experience that then say stupid things. That's what bugs
She
me
may
the
sound,
most.
she may be articulate to some people, but all she's basically saying, what I heard was, that's all she's basically doing. Like,
right? Yeah, exactly. Me having sat next to some of these generals, I'm qualified to say what's going on because I've been close to these people. Anyway, Kellogg had said, I don't know if Jesse Waters asked him, is the CIA on the ground right now in Ukraine? Which, like, obviously, yes. The answer to
like,
that
a stupid question.
Emphatic, yes. And we've been there the whole time. It wouldn't even be like we just got there. Like, we've been there for fucking decades.
We've been helping overthrow multiple times.
We're everywhere. That's the real lesson.
You look at him and you're like, Jesse.
But anyway, and Kellogg goes, oh, I don't know. I really hope so. It's like, bro, are you retarded? Like, I guess you couldn't necessarily acknowledge something like that. And he did have an official capacity at one point. He doesn't anymore. But like, of all the stupidity, he was talking about how we need to do a covert action finding, a Title 50 covert action, which is under the National Security Act. I won't go into it, but that's how we do like these coups, for example, as many other things. It's called a covert action finding. And he said, oh, Joe Biden should do that. First of all, what makes you think that hasn't happened already? That is like almost 100% guaranteed to have happened at this point. But then he like hems and haws, and he's like, well, I just don't know if they're over there doing that right now. Like, well, what an idiot, dude.
All that's going on right now, to anybody, to anybody with a little bit of common sense, all that's happening right now is the real shit has been happening for way longer before they announced their invasion. Attempts to try to stop it happened a long time ago, and we're just being entertained with our bullshit while the real shit is going down. We're just being entertained with little bits of bullshit that really mean nothing, no substance at all. It's just, it sounds like substance because they're reporting and using all these words, but when you really look into like a report, all you see is like repetitive usage of like invasion, aggression, weapons. But like you see certain words that are repeated, and it's just a bunch of bullshit. It's like, bro, it's just like people need to see through this shit,
of course, and that is the that is go big lie. And I'm not talking about the way they talk about the election as the big lie. That's in reference to Herbert Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister, saying that if you tell a lie enough times and loudly enough, eventually it will become true. That is what is called a big lie in that parlance. And of course, we've seen it. It's, the vaccines are safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. The election was the most secure of all time, most secure of all time, most secure of all time. Like, and they just repeat all these things.
They just keep
until
repeating
it
it all at the
drilled
same time.
into
I
your
know
brain.
everybody, like all the media, all the channels, every anchor, every anchor woman, everybody's saying it the same way. Like they're all saying it. Like you saw that ad where all the news stations had that little compilation where like every news station was saying the same thing, and then they put it all together.
Yeah, saying the same thing. Ironically, talking about misinformation.
Yeah, misinformation. Yeah, exactly. Fucking
It's
ridiculous.
so funny.
Fucking ridiculous.
And so this is a really important point. We all know that there's 6 corporations and really 6 families is actually what we're talking about. 6 family businesses that are, of course, huge media conglomerates, control 100% of the news that we get in this country. And that's actually true of most of the world. It's some of those same families, Rupert Murdoch, the Murdoch family that owns Fox News, they're Australian. So it's true in other countries too. But but what happens, and we have documentation of this, and it's funny. This is why, for example, Trump would start tweeting at 3 a.m, because every day these groups, and it's Media Matters, and it's a dozen other groups like that, some of which are compromised by the intelligence community, by CIA and others, as part of successors of Operation Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm.
To go full circle there briefly.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll put out talking points every single day.
I've read a lot about
and it'll come out at around 4 a.m. before the really early talk shows start. And it was funny, by tweeting in the middle of the night like he did, Trump was actually able to interrupt that cycle and have them talk about things that he wanted them to talk about, rather
he knew what he
than
was
letting
doing.
them
He knows how it
control
works.
the narrative. It was actually pretty brilliant.
Because he's been doing it for 40 years.
That's how the dialogue set becomes so similar, is they'll actually get, little dossiers, little packets of information, and it's like, okay, say these 5 words, and then everyone says those 5 words. And it's funny, if you just look at like the Media Matters website, you can know like what tomorrow's dialogue is going to sound like. It's pretty incredible that we think of it being, oh yeah, it's all these different networks and all these different shows. Like, no, it's actually really just one network and one show that runs 24 hours a day on every channel that basically seeks to control the narrative and has done quite a good job up until recently, where we've really seen a degradation of the information environment from their perspective. Yeah. Obviously, it's a good thing. It's not a degradation at all, but their stranglehold has been broken largely thanks to social media, but also thanks to some mainstream figures like Tucker and others that actually do sort of break the mold, and it's out there, and people get most of their news from social media, which, as far as big tech is concerned and stuff, that can actually be a huge problem. But what it really means ultimately for people like us is that we can get our information like from Rumble and things that aren't made to be censored and controlled. And that's why, for example, Truth Social is also such a huge deal, and I really hope it succeeds because it can help to break the stranglehold, which is already breaking in large part.
It's going to break soon. I think this next 4 years it's going to break. This next 4 years, it's going to definitely break, man. I think that like 2022 is just going to be a little preview, and then 2024 is just going to be a whole nother level, bro. I want to fucking appreciate. I thank you for calling in, man. I just realized that like we're way past fucking 10 o'clock. We went into it, but I really do appreciate talking about it because we always talk about a lot.
Talking so much.
No, we talk about a lot now. We talk about a lot, though. I really do appreciate you calling in, Jack. Call anytime, man. Anytime you want to call in. I'll be going live again on Wednesday, but you have a great evening, man. God bless, and thank you very much. And I'm going to check out the what was it that you had mentioned?
Patel Patriot.
Nah, I checked him out. It was something else. It's gonna come to mind, but I'm gonna do some research on something that you had mentioned. It'll come to my mind in a second. But not Patel Patriot. It was something else.
Kolomoisky in the Ukraine.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's what it was.
You can do like days of research.
That's what it was.
It is interesting.
That's what it was exactly. That's exactly it. All right, that's exactly it. I got it down here.
The dude Kolomoisky basically runs the entire country and is in bed with all these Democrats and Mitt Romney too. Interestingly,
Igor Kolomoisky. Igor Kolomoisky. I see it here.
Yeah,
I'm gonna check it out. Man.
And people say that like Zelensky is his puppet and stuff. That might be true.
No,
but this dude basically like runs shit like a mob boss.
Like the mafia. That's who's really making the decisions. Yeah, bro. That's the one that's the one who's doing it is not going to be the face. I don't care if Zelensky might have a little bit the person that's the face is not really running it, man. But thank you so much for calling, Jack, and you have a good one, bro. Be easy and call again on Wednesday if you want.
Thank you.
No, you're very welcome, man. Be easy, all right? Rest up. God bless. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Jack. Thank you so much for calling in. That was Jack. That was our intelligence specialist, Jack, calling in and giving us the lowdown. Like a lot of what he's saying, folks, everything he's saying is absolutely true. Operation Mockingbird, definitely something that you want to look into. I think I shared a Mark Dice video yesterday that actually went into Operation Mockingbird towards the end, but definitely something that you want to look into in detail because that's been going on for decades. It's not something it's just something that's been warped now. It's just been fucking on hyper mode right now. over the last 12 years. Well, after I want to say since 9/11 especially. It wasn't as, I mean, it's always kind of been there. It's always been going on. But after 9/11, I think that's when it just reached another level. And it's only been escalating since then. But thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the song to play out. I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you so much for joining the Cannabis Analysis. Remember, y'all can call in. You know, it's supposed to be from 9 to 10, but there's no real limit here, ladies and gentlemen. We love it when Jack calls and we discuss a lot of different issues. And the show's always going to go over some time. Sometimes it'll end at 10. Thank you so much for calling, ladies and gentlemen. It's Crippy Rob, the political pod at AK Cannabis Convict. Peace.
Oh, Father, tell me, do we get what we deserve? Oh, we get what we deserve. And where down we go, 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 go. Oh, where down we go, 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 go. So where down we go, way down we go. Oh, you let your feet run wild. Thomas, come as we all go down. Yeah, but for the folk who my heart, do you dare to look me right in the eyes? Yeah. Oh, 'cause they will run you down, down to the door. Yeah, Sunday we run you down, down till you fall. And they will run you down, down till you go. Yeah, till you can't grow no more. And where down we go, 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 go. Oh, where down we go, go, go. Say where down we go. Ooh. Oh, 'cause say we run you down, down to your car, oh, way down we go. Oh, baby, oh, baby, way down we go. Way down we go, 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 go. Oh, way down we go, oh, oh, oh. So way down we go, ooh, ooh. Way down we go. I see a red door and I want it painted black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. I see the girls were fine dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes. see a line of cars and they are painted black. With flowers and my love hope never to come back. I see people turn their heads and quickly look away. Like a newborn baby, it just happens every day. I look inside myself and see my heart is black. I see my red door, I must have it painted black. Maybe then I'll fade away and not have to face the facts. It's not easy facing up when your whole world is black. No more will my green seagull turn a deeper blue. I could not foresee this thing happening to you. If I look hard enough into the setting sun, my love will laugh with me before the morning comes. I see a red door and I want it painted black. No colors anymore, I want them to turn black. Girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. I have to turn my head until my darkness goes.